I was in. Oh, dang it, I left the propane on earlier. Oh, good. Very good. What up? So loud. Why?
Sarah, come see.
Y'all don't forget to follow if you're new. We're live on YouTube right now. Welcome back. Hi, buddy. The laptop's loading up right now. I'll message you.
No. Give me a chance.
Eddie, taking notes is an essential part of learning.
Are you touching my face?
If y'all want to watch TV with us, we're live on YouTube right now.
The way you do it's successful
No. Like I need you to tell me how to make that. I was born to swing double D. You know what?
Why so many pop-ups?
Unfortunately.
Mom's alright.
That's what I am, guys. An idiot?
What up, friends? Welcome back.
Not even close, double D. Look at that. That's not on TV. Hey, just do on the stove. The same customer and I'm gonna be the champ of the world. I'll be right. What do you say?
He's the trash man. Hi, Annika.
Come on, Ed. Let me a shot, will ya?
I told you to take notes.
Whoa, Nelly. Y'all don't forget to follow before scrolling. We're live on YouTube right now. YouTube is the play button on my page. Shiver me timbers. Yo. What up, Peggy? What up, Diamonds? Gonna be taking it pretty easy tonight still. Not feeling 100% yet. Definitely better than yesterday. Better than the day before.
What? That's Jimmy. What? Look at the food, Ed. What?
Oh, what the honorable Senator is making finish up.
The road is not a passenger. It's just gonna be you.
I'm with you, Spaghetti. I want to be a VIP. Ready, willing, and able. Roll with me.
Bingo. You want to know. Of the 10th lemon, like something.
You're all for the beard. Thank you.
You took Ross meat locker?
What up, friends? If y'all make it all the way to YouTube, don't forget to subscribe.
Peaches and cream.
Peaches and cream.
That'll work.
Y'all don't forget to follow if you're new here. If you make it all the way to YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. We're live on both places right now.
I told you I'd make a big miss.
Yeah, burns happen constantly.
And this is just the beginning, kid. You're my ticket to Hoolaville.
What happened to my supposed to be? I just like a sumo wrestler.
Sumo wrestlers are stars, Jimmy.
Sumo wrestling stars? Oh, well, yes. They're highly revered within their own culture, and they have legions of fans who listen to their
You bet, kid. Step into the ring and watch a Jimmy Waddle.
Y'all don't forget to follow before scrolling.
Jump into the head.
Yokozuna Ed.
Jump into the head, which is the recipe. As you are now the world famous, honorable,
If y'all want to watch cartoons with us, we're live on YouTube right now.
I get around.
If y'all make it to YouTube, don't forget to subscribe.
Come on, Ed. Quit fooling around. Hey, Ed. Where are you? Hey, love me. It's all about him, Roberto.
That is called a Maria. Maria. Oxygen propane.
You're a star, and I'm so rich. Sumo wrestlers are revered. You'll have legions of fans who'll cater to your every whim.
In Japan.
Okay, W. All right. So your point is,
Sumo wrestlers are revered, celebrated, and affluent only in Japan, Eddie.
Eddie's so mad with them.
Eddie's Man Clan.
I got it. Never
If y'all want to watch cartoons with us again, we're live on YouTube right now. That's the play button on my page.
Looks good to me. Now where's that milk?
Kiefer, even if I did, don't be asking questions like that.
Of course it's Big Eddie.
They'll be putting my information out there for people like that. Hi, Sky.
The most Jeff didn't have a chance.
I'm afraid not, Eddie.
And you knew it. That made you laugh, Emily, huh?
Honestly, I just thought it was like a learning experience for you.
Is the work similar to welding? Yeah, you need special glasses for it.
Okay, forget the whole trip. It don't matter much, I tell ya. We'll be eating the chopsticks in no time. All aboard, going aboard. All back today.
If y'all want to watch TV with us, again, we're live on YouTube right now. There's a play button on my page.
Double D, what do you say?
Making some collectors. Thank you, Jacob. If y'all are new, don't forget to follow. If y'all make it all the way to YouTube, don't forget to subscribe.
Rise and shine, gentlemen. And how are we feeling this morning?
Y'all don't forget to follow before scrolling.
You have a little thing, haven't we? Oh, that's okay. Time to put up the video.
Yeah, if y'all want to watch what we're watching, it's the play button on my page. We're live on YouTube right now.
We should open up a weight loss clinic. Hey, Jimmy! Yeah,
Y'all don't forget to follow before scrolling. We're live on YouTube right now. That is the play button on my page. Don't forget to follow before trying to find us there. If you make it all the way to YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. Added a little silver theme to the end there. Give it some color.
Wow, Eddie, is that a carpet?
Is that a carpet? If you would like to watch cartoons with us, again, that is the play button on my page.
choice. Hey, Igneroid! Who's more mature now, huh?
The dork's faking puberty. Goodness.
Jealous? He wishes you'd fertilize I'll tell you when it's back on.
It seems underlying growth is a very steep from maturity.
Now what?
It's a call on hand.
What up, Jessica? Yeah, most people like YouTube better than the Clock app. Better angle, better camera. We can watch TV together. Again, that's the play button on my page. Silver Fusion, making some collectors.
Why, I didn't know you played instruments.
I don't do requests. If you want me to show you something, you can tip me.
That's a violin. A hand-carved musical tourniquet whose delicate tone began with a diverse range of emotions. Little cat and dog, but...
Y'all know just about as much as I do whenever we're making pieces. You ask me, what are we making tonight? I don't know. We'll figure it out along the way. Attitude, I genuinely do not give a fuck what you think, especially if you're expecting me to do things for you for free. You can go fuck yourself. Not you, Jessica. This person that expects me to teach them for free can go fuck themselves. Some people's children. I need to turn the heater off real quick. I forgot to do again.
Looks like an elephant's off your back, Tell me a story, Eddie.
Show me how to do this. Show me how to do that. How about you show me some fucking money before opening your fucking mouth?
See, I'm practicing, Sarah. Hang on for your hat.
Bye, Karen. You're still here, though. That would be you, the Karen, expecting things for free. Like, the irony. The irony there is palpable. You're still here, aren't you? Watch. Look. There you go. See, going from wanting things for free to trying to talk shit. It's almost as if I could have predicted that. The person asking for things for free wasn't worthy of the stuff that I have to offer. Y'all don't forget to follow before scrolling. Again, we're live on YouTube right now. If y'all want to watch TV with us. Look at the size of that bird. Y'all don't forget to follow before scrolling. Don't feed the trolls. They're hungry. Don't feed the trolls. Right, Jessica? If y'all want to watch TV with us, again, we're live on YouTube right now. Nikula, thank you for sharing the live video. It's okay, we let people just yell into the void every now and then. If you have a bad day, it's okay. Kayang, thank you for sharing the live video. And placing your left foot right. Ink's Dad, thank you for sharing the live video. If y'all are new here, don't forget to follow. We're live on here and on YouTube. If y'all want to watch cartoons, that'll be on YouTube. We're going to stretch this down a little bit. Susan, Jacob, thank you for sharing the live video. Cockdog, Sawtooth, Cecil. Now y'all understand why I've got the attitude that I do. This little douchey trolls like that expect stuff for free. So I make sure that they're worthy of it. Most of the time they're not. I'm doing this for free right now for y'all. And then people like that aren't grateful at all. And then want more. And then want attention. And then want their questions answered. Jacob, thank you for sharing the live video. Y'all don't forget to follow before scrolling. Juan, thank you for sharing the live video. Y'all don't forget to follow before scrolling. Again, we're live on YouTube right now. Don't forget to follow. If you make it all the way to YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. Like a kazoo or something. I genuinely don't fucking care, Callie. Go fuck yourself. User, thank you for sharing the live video. I bet it looked awful. That dude went from trying to troll me to trying to get me to be impressed about the things that they've made. Some people's children, dude, like, if y'all want attention, go get it from your parents who should have given it to you as you were growing up, or pay somebody for it like everyone else. My time is not free. My patience has been. Good thing I don't fucking care.
Jeff, you got a great personality.
It works, right? Look at that. Wow.
That's when you got us.
Oh, look, Double D! Hard. I call this one to noodle or not to noodle. And this one I will call. No more for me, thanks. I should.
Well, macaroni.
No more for me, thanks. I'm a Russian.
Your creative side, Ed.
Yeah, just like it brought out all these same customers who will just flip for Double D's Artsy Crafts Fair.
So hostile. Shut the fuck up, dude.
Whoa!
A fool's book is soon shot, Eddie. It is well
You're on the
documented
internet.
that homemade anomalies are
Welcome.
one's
Welcome to the
curiosity.
internet.
Can you honestly
Get used
think
to
this
it.
butterfly made from common household twaddle isn't delightful?
I'm still stuck on that Vince bolt line. Whoops! Oh, nice! I think I glued my head to the table!
Honestly, just gonna start making that my fucking thing. Is me just being an asshole. Some people get paid for it. That's literally a waiter's job at a restaurant here called Dick's Last Resort, where they're intentionally an asshole to you. So I'm just gonna do that from now on. Wow, what a bad attitude. Wow, so impatient. Go fuck yourself. How about that? Yadira, thank you for the cat paws. I appreciate you.
I can only imagine the atrocities of the Lorelei have put out.
Guten Tag, Mel.
Just deny everything, Double D. You live longer. Oh no, you made one of them sissy butterfly things.
Yeah, you gotta understand. I genuinely don't care either way.
There's power in numbers, Eddie.
Exactly like Pooh said. But what's funny is, like, I'm gonna be an asshole to you, but I'm also very nice. So, like, if you'd like to be nice to me, I'll be nice to you as well. But if you're gonna be an asshole, obviously expect it. Right? Sounds good, huh? Most people just don't expect. Most people don't expect to be met with the same energy. Most people don't expect to be an asshole and then have somebody be an asshole back. So yeah, you'll get that here.
Is that so? He would have meant to the tip of a hat. Trump just jumped into the barrel of tree sap? Oh, fear not! Let the Urban Rangers will rescue the mini hammerhead boy!
Hold that thought. Rangers.
If y'all want to watch cartoons with us, we're live on YouTube right now. Make sure to let the door hit you on the way up. This fucking set of glasses. And see, what's funny is most people, like, expect you to be nice to them, which is fucking bullshit. Especially when you're not nice to them in the first place. People aren't used to getting told to go fuck themselves.
You're so full of yourselves. I can't believe you stupid asses.
Yeah, Dero, thank you for the fire. The ditties look rough? Well, after they're inside your dad, I wouldn't imagine they'd look any different. Tell him to refill that prepaid card. I already spent all the money on it. 20, how'd you know? Did you find your grandma's grave already? Still got it even after life. Good for her. Good for me. If y'all want to watch cartoons with us, we're live on YouTube right now. It's the play button on my page. Funny enough, Ricky, people actually asked me to do that on command. It's one of your sister's favorite pastimes. You need to ask her to chill though, she keeps trying to bring friends. Play Muse song? No. Don't forget to follow. We're live on YouTube right now. I'm sick. I don't feel good. Fuck yourself. How about that? They're in such a bad mood tonight. Yep, I am. It's okay to not be okay sometimes. I've been sick the past 4 days, and I've had to work every single day because I have to sell my labor to capitalism in order to meet ends meet. So I can be in a bad mood if I want. And if you don't like it, you can go fuck yourself. Well, see, and Jessica, as constructive of an environment as I do provide, I need people to not expect that out of me. Like how we often talk about Hunter Thompson creating a character that people expected him to be. As productive and as generous and as happy-go-lucky as I normally am, y'all are definitely not going to expect that from me. And you're not going to come into chat and say, wow, you're in a bad mood, huh? Because I'll be sure to make it an even worse mood. Well, Debbie, we will be in Adult Swim after we're not live on TikTok anymore. Adult Swim is when we are out of the kiddie pool. Yeah, especially when people come in here and they're like, "Wow, you're not as cheery as you normally are." I tell those people to go fuck themselves because you're not going to expect me to be a certain way. I'm not a dancing monkey. I'm not going to perform for you. If you have a set expectation about me and what I do already, what? Get the fuck out of here. Get up on out of here. Having expectations for me, you can go fuck yourself. I can't even live up to my own expectations, let alone yours that you're gonna set for me. Ha! Fuck off. Wow, you're not in the same mood that you're always in. Wow. Yeah. I am not a robot. I have a life that I also live. I've been sick. I have a physical body as well. So I'm not just a conceptual being for your enjoyment. 6 hours a night. I am who I am. And I am sick right now, so if that makes me feel a little bit more ornery and to you a little bit more short, by all means, be offended. I do not care. Right, exactly, Mel. Exactly. That's what it is the entitlement. People expect you to be one way, and then when you're not that way, it ruins their day. Oh no, you're not so happy as you normally are. I was expecting you to be happy so I could be happy in your stream too. Fuck you. And I don't mean that from a cynic's point of view. I mean that as a, I'm not the source of your happiness, and if you're going to put that on me, you can get out. Yeah, and I'm not gonna act like I'm not gonna act like I feel good right now. I'm not gonna act like I'm not sweating under this shit, because I'm sick right now, and I have to work to be able to sell my labor to capitalism to keep the lights on. Tiny Reg, thank you for the tiny dining. I'm not gonna put on a little show and little acts for y'all and be like, well, yeah, I'm having such a great night. No, I feel like shit. I feel like absolute ass, and that's okay. That is a-okay. To admit, it's okay to not be okay sometimes. And if anybody expects you to be okay all the time, you tell those people, fuck off. I'm trying to sweat it out right now, though. I'm at the sweating point of being sick. It's like when you're on the back end of it, you're just like, you feel gross. But not like sick gross. Seal, I make everything. Mr. Smith or Mr. Well, thank you. Yeah. Everyone has an online persona or that act that they put as soon as they hit that live button. I'm not gonna do that for y'all. I don't put on an act. I'm myself, genuinely and consistently. And that's greasy, sweaty, sickness and all. And that's what I am tonight. Greasy, sweaty, and sick. And feeling gross. But hey, we're still here. And that's okay. See, because you feel even worse if you fall out of routine even further. If you have a very set routine and you're like, okay, we'll just take the night off, right? Okay, well, I'm still not better. Just take another night off. And like, by that third night, you're like, oh, shit. Capitalism, right? Nah, Jessica, I don't go anywhere to be able to pick that up. I'm a hermit. I am an agoraphobe. I don't go outside, so unless something has penetrated my hermetic seal, it's just what I get every year, pretty much. I should have had my tonsils out as a kid, but I didn't. So I get tonsillitis like twice a year, especially since I'm a heavy smoker. What up, Grease? Right? No, and that's another thing I hope to alleviate here in the near future, is not have to stream and blow glass out of a necessity, and for it just to be enjoyable, and not for me to make money off of, you know? Hopefully streaming takes over and glass blowing becomes the hobby. We're live on YouTube right now. Y'all don't forget to follow before scrolling. This should not be in there. Yeah, I should have got my tonsils out, but I never did because my parents are my parents. And we're going through a divorce at the time of when I should have gotten the work done, so they couldn't actually decide on who is going to pay for it. Isn't that fun? So I'm paying for it now, myself, in the future. Woo! Drama. I should still have them out. I need to get them out. But I'm 27 now, so no more family insurance. Yay! I don't have insurance. Isn't that grand? America, greatest country in the world, right? Yeah, everything I make is for sale. Yeah, my dad was legitimately like, hey, we can either go and get your tonsils out, or we can go like on a flounder fishing trip. And me being 13, I was like, why the fuck would I not want to go on a fishing trip? You're telling me I have a choice between surgery and vacation. Why was that given? Why was that an option for me? Why was that given to me as an option? Dumbass little fucking weenie. Go get your tonsils out, you little piece of shit. It'll help you the rest of your life. I'm still dealing with it now. It's what I'm dealing with right now. It's why I'm sick. Oh, thank you, Sophie. I appreciate you. Why is this website being dumb? Is it? No way. It's because I paused it. Right? I wish I could go back in time. You know how much it would be how much better it would have been to have gotten my tonsils out a decade ago versus still needing them out, probably going to need to get them out in the near future. That recovery time as a kid would have been so much faster. The fucking audio in this show, the noises are unmatched. Y'all don't forget to follow before scrolling. Again, if y'all want to watch what we're watching, we're live on YouTube right now. Oh shit, Rolf's after him. Something that's also super funny to me is the people who are like, wow, such a bad attitude. Some people make a living off the internet, off of having a bad attitude. That's part of it. That's part of being on the internet, is coming across celebrities or whatever whose entire personality is there to make you angry. And then people act surprised when they come across somebody being just like even slightly defensive in their chat or in their stream. Shit's mad funny. Mason, Voice, Fam, Steve, Teddy, User, thank y'all for following. Everything is sold through Instagram usually, Debbie. Customs are available through monthly subscribers. The only people who have oh yes, my neck popped. Only people who have access to monthly, who have access to custom pieces are monthly subscribers. If you're going to subscribe on YouTube, it needs to be the ordained level, not the first level. But yeah, options on Instagram, which we don't have many, or haven't had many recently, but yep. Controversy garners more energy than positivity, unfortunately. And it's not always constructive energy when it comes to controversy. What up, what up? Y'all don't forget to follow. We'll be entering Adult Swim in the near future, which means we'll be ending the TikTok stream and only be live on YouTube. We're gonna have an early night either way. Again, still sick, so still recovering myself. Red and green, yeah, Christmas dude. Ross about to give him that 3-shoe beating. What are we making tonight? Same thing as every other night. Is this a test? We're live on YouTube right now. Play button on my page. Might actually watch some Metalocalypse here in a bit as well. That's typically more so for Adult Swim. Not for when we're live on TikTok still, given the subject matter of the show. Again, we're live on YouTube right now. That's the play button on my page. Yeah, I do fish decor. I do glass reefs and glass anemones and stuff. Adult Swim is everything that I can't do while we're live on TikTok, which is everything, pretty much. TikTok is very family friendly. YouTube is not nearly so. Again, we're live on both places right now. YouTube is the play button on my page. New Metallica song, haven't listened to it. Probably sounds like all their other songs. Nice intro, couple verses, guitar solo, outro, right? Probably something about not being controlled. Probably something about not wanting to be perceived. And then some heavy riffs, guitar solo, outro, in the song. There you go. There's a new Metallica song. If y'all want to watch TV with us, we're live on YouTube right now. Play button on my page. That'll be on your end, Jessica. ending the TikTok stream. We'll be live on YouTube for a little bit longer. YouTube is the play button on my page. I'll see y'all over here. Bye. Let me catch up on the internet world real quick.
Let's check and see, Frank. Look, it's still here. And you were right. No one found it under the border. Bubblegum sure does taste better with age, huh, buddy?
Bubblegum sure does taste better with age, huh, buddy?
Is that Johnny? Yum, yum, bubblegum!
It's just a water.
Hey, after my watermelon edge.
Oh, that Squirtle story they But
Did we hit 3,100 subs?
plain cookie. Oh, crying out loud. And can I please have my shoes back?
We did not hit 300 subs.
Hey, give me my shoes! What did you do?
If y'all haven't subbed yet, don't forget to. It is free. Best way to help me out here on YouTube. Oh yeah, it's Adult Swim. I need a bong rip. Also, speaking of bongs. Boop. Oh shit.
Not badminton, but your form needs work. Spar with someone else, but I prefer with Captain Black.
Sorry about the hard knocks, my friend. But since Section 13 is officially out of the dark hand business, I had to devise a way to justify the program to my superiors.
Did you put me on the books as personal trainer? Punching back.
Yeah. Hollywood?
Can I come with, please?
Gee, Doc Hand is there. No doubt searching for a demon portal.
But Raphael Di Capizio is getting his footprints in cement at the Chinese theater this weekend.
I am here with you.
Hello? Raphael Di Capizio is only the greatest movie star in the history of history.
In the history of history.
I guess you have never heard of John Wayne.
That's hilarious that it paused right there. Why are there so many fucking pop-ups? Why is it loading? I should put something on YouTube. It's this site that's doing it.
And then I come across Bang.
Yeah, Backrooms Explained. Nice. Good shit. We did Five Nights at Freddy's Explained yesterday.
Hello everybody, today we're going to talk about
Ooh, same guy, too.
this terrifying series on YouTube, The Backrooms. The Backrooms originated from a 4chan post depicting a frightening liminal space where, according to the description, people can fall out of reality into this new world. Now this post went on to create its own unique tear, such as an entire website dedicated to the lore of the Backrooms itself, and an emergence of liminal spaces and other frightening empty environments. And while we'll talk about that some, especially at the end, today I want to focus on the series made by Kane Pixels. Kane series uses the Backrooms as a vehicle to tell an overarching and intriguing story. While the terror and dread of the Backrooms are still present throughout his body of work, the series emphasizes the horror that it can create when backed by a strong narrative. And today, we're going to take a look at that narrative as well as the nature of the Backrooms themselves, create a cohesive timeline, and figure out what this series is all about. And to help in our understanding of it, the man himself has decided to be a part of this video. The full interview can be found on the second channel, which will be linked in the description. But throughout this video, he's going to help us put some things together. Also, here's the timeline for the events of the series. We'll get to that later. Also, check out the async merchandise. Pretty cool, huh? But I'm not here to talk about that. I want to talk about the amazing love and support that you all have shown us on the Kickstarter with our movie Kickstarter for what we'll do with the extra funds. The first thing that we're focusing on for any funds over our needed budget is practical to. And then from there, we'll jump into a timeline and analysis. So in that case, we're starting off with the first video of the Backroom series, Found Footage. The description for the video says that the footage is from September the 23rd of 1996. The description also contains an unlisted video, which we'll get to in a moment. The video opens with a group of teenagers making a home movie. From the clapperboard, we can see that they were recording on July the 4th of 1991. But if that's the case, then why does the description say that the tape's from 96? And we'll get to that eventually. As the cameraman begins to take a few steps back, he trips and it appears that he falls into the back rooms. Now, for those who aren't familiar with the concept of the back rooms, the original 4chan post that made the image popular and thereby the story says that if someone missteps or falls in just the right way, it will no clip out of reality and into the back rooms. Now, no clipping is a concept from video games. Whenever a solid object passes through,
Yeah, but 1 in 10 billion chance that your hand is just going to pass through any object.
Our existence and into what
That your hand will just glide through.
is. That's also where the lore of the original Backrooms mythology.
Because technically,
starts
all
to
matter
fit
is just
in the
vibrating
series. Because
cells
as
and
you'll see from
stuff.
the following videos as well
Just
as
go
himself,
and then
this
just pass
series
straight
is
through
its
it.
own unique story. But for now, it seems our cameraman slipped out of the real world and into the back rooms. The cameraman begins to walk around and yell for help. And at the time of recording, the Backrooms Found Footage has about 36 million views. And from looking at the footage, it's not hard to see why. The environment is not
It's so
only
good.
so detailed and well
It's so
detailed
well made.
that it creates a wholly swallowing atmosphere. But because of that detail, you wouldn't be alone in thinking that this is real footage. Kane's works have become a masterclass of 3D animation. And that's definitely something we'll see going forward as well. Anyway, as our cameraman is walking through the back rooms, he thinks he hears something behind him and turns, and if you notice carefully, something leans around the corner. Whatever this presence is that's following him doesn't want to be seen. He continues to walk and comes across more bizarre settings. A ladder that leads up to a square in the wall that once walked through shows a green lit room. As he continues to walk, the architecture gets more harsh, with more unnecessary corners and turns along his path. Our cameraman comes across a series of scribbles that implies he's not alone. The first thing he sees is a series of arrows pushing him forward, before he gets to a wall with the drawing of what appears to be a pair of eyes underneath a window. Around the eyes are several handprints and words that are hard to make out. However, among them we can see the phrase,
Among Us.
"Don't move, stay still." Before ourselves or the cameraman has time to think on this, he quickly turns around to see that whatever's following him is now standing right in front of him. This creature begins to chase him, making these awful screaming noises. Whatever this thing is, it moves in a very janky, broken motion. And as our cameraman gains some ground, the screams that are just human enough to be haunting can be heard in the distance.
Thank you, Rachel.
But then, as he's running, our cameraman runs into a room of looping corridors, where, as he turns the camera back, the creature is right behind him. He continues to run until he comes to a dead end with a hole in the floor. Having no other option, he jumps in. Now, the imagery we see here and some of the upcoming shots are very similar to liminal art that you get from the internet. And while this all stays within the idea and the concept of what the Backrooms are, it's also the first time that we see anything within this world that isn't your standard yellow wall. So if anyone watching were to think that perhaps this world is just some randomly generated series of corners, this is our first indication that it may be a bit more complicated. Our cameraman walks up the stairs and then stands at the top of them, observing the lights that are going on. He then comes to a desolate hallway, and when peering out the window, he leads to a giant courtyard of similar rooms and architecture. One of the common through lines when it comes to living spaces is the idea of locations that are meant to house large groups of people to be completely empty for some reason. This is in contrast to things like abandoned buildings. While some abandoned buildings can certainly fall within the realm of liminal terror, for the most part they don't, because that's something we can comprehend, right? We can understand that something was shut down, and because of that it's now empty. The scary part is whenever the ghost town is harder to justify. We see well-kept walls and clean floors, and even things like running lights that implies that this area is upkept for some reason, but that upkeep stands in stark contrast of the lack of people. And in the following scenes, we see a dumpster covered in graffiti and a rope that's laying in a hallway. It's like you have these areas that are made by people, and they're exclusively made for the presence of humanity. So if it looks like something we built and looks like somewhere where it's supposed to be, however it's completely empty, who was it made for? As our cameraman continues around the corner, he begins to cough. That probably doesn't mean anything to you right now, but hold on to that. He then comes to a massive gap in the floor and sees industrial signs everywhere, and this leaking architecture is using the same hallways over and over. It's like whatever was making it was trying to make something that was human, but didn't quite know how to make it fit. It's at this point that the cameraman says, "This isn't real," which, would be understandable at this point. Before he continues walking and comes to a door that says fire exit, he's clear. Upon walking up the stairways, he opens the door back into the bathroom. With no other way to go, he ventures forward. Things seem normal until, as he is slowly pacing down the hallway, a chair is thrown at the wall in front of him. He then quickly finds a small alcove to hide in. And at this point, we get a good look at this creature that chases him. This creature, or the life form, as Kenny refers to it, seems to be a tall, skinny mass of a face inside him. While the stance and shape of it is vaguely human, the motions and behavior of it are anything but, as it continues to make these low, growling noises. My cameraman looks for a way out. He finds the sheer drop-off, and while examining it with his camera, perhaps considering jumping in, he hears a noise behind him, only to turn and confront it. In this shot, we get the best look at the life form that we've had today. The life form is rigid and seems to be a combination of what can only be described as something between wires, branches, and steel. Its head looks like a conglomeration of these same wires and perhaps some biological material. The only thing that can be made out on it is perhaps teeth in the center of its quote-unquote head. Even that's debatable. Similar to the bathroom itself, it's something that, while maybe using aspects and ideas of humanity in its creation, the final product is an uncanny plagiarism of the ideas it was built upon. As the camera is dropped, we can see that the life form grabs our cameraman, leaving him to a fate we can only imagine at this point. The camera cuts to black, and when it cuts back, it's now falling from the sky. It seems that, just as the cameraman faced into the back rooms, the camera faced back out. And with the final shot of the video, the camera lies there on the ground, waiting to be discovered on September the 23rd of 1996.
See, I love stuff like that.
First video in the back rooms. So, do you see why this picked up a lot of attention? This is the point I discussed with Kane. I was very familiar with the concept of the back rooms whenever I saw the first episode of the series, as were many people on this side of the internet, us freaks. And like a lot of other people, I loved the idea, I just wanted to see something done with it. When I saw this first episode, I knew that it was what I didn't know I needed. So we follow this cameraman, he falls into the back rooms, he's chased by this life form until he's killed or some other terrible fate. Aside from the obvious questions of where did all of this come from, and questions about the life form and environment itself, there's other questions like who drew the words on the wall and what did the eyes under the window mean? And what's with the time discrepancy?
Dub time.
Supposedly our cameraman went in on July 4th, 1991 and comes out on September the 23rd, 1996.
So he was in there for longer than
which you're probably
time
not
dilation
asking questions about, but I certainly was. That's not a joke. I've been doing this a while, and whenever I watched the first episode, I heard him cough and literally wrote it on my hand. Because liminal spaces, cryptic messages, giant alien monster beast things, that's not what we're interested in. Emphysema. That's the real thing. So now that we're done with that, let's take a look at the unlisted video in the description of found footage. That is a video titled March the 11th, 90, archive.tar. The description says that it was compiled in June of 1991. In the video, we see text implying that the file
Lucy, quit licking.
review. After it says loading archive.tar, we then see images of the backrooms as well as other similar creepy spaces. We then see images of redacted individuals recording data and working. Most suspiciously are images of construction with a ceiling pattern that seems to be that of the backrooms itself. After that, we see a diagram of something called Null Zone 4. After deciphering the blurry text, which there's a lot of in the series, we can read that it says, Due to the elevation discrepancy between panel 225 and 234, a small KX field is created. KX is in reference to electromagnetic waves, something that's going to be a reoccurring thing throughout the series. I also believe that elevation discrepancy may be in reference to the fact that the backroom's elevation is ambiguous. Because as we're going to continue to see, it doesn't really seem to have an in direction. And then finally, we see an image of what seems to be a sort of Now, this video was added to found footage a few days after found footage went up. So at the time, while it still has important information that we're going to look at, it was primarily made to encourage the idea that the series wasn't over. And as a matter of fact, it hadn't even begun to tell its story. And if you think the concept of people building and working in the backrooms is bizarre, oh boy, are you in for it. As a matter of fact, let's get into that bizarre nature with the next video. In the description, we can see that this video is from July the 2nd of 1989. Up until this point, it's the earliest event in the timeline. Throughout the third test, from the diagrams and narration, we are told of a company called Async. Async is developing something known as a low proximity magnetic distortion system. This concept of magnetic distortion was mentioned in the previous video concerning the KX field. We are also given the name of someone high up at Async, a certain According to the narration, the purpose of the low proximity magnetic distortion system was a solution to society's growing storage and now, some of you may already put together what that means, but we'll save the analysis for now.
So it's
with the test of
a quantum locker.
And if you weren't convinced by Kane's
folded over
skills from the previous video,
area of space-time.
Given the failure of this operation, as well as the video's title, The Third Test, it seems in 1988, Async had not yet developed whatever this system would become. However, that's about to change with the next First Contact. First,
I gotta run a bath real quick. We'll let that.
What if?
Wait, hang on.
Every good idea starts with those two words.
Contact said,
I gotta run a bath real quick. Give me 2 seconds. Liz, you gotta go bath too? Come on, let's go. I'm back.
They said the footage is from October the 17th of 1989, over a year since the third test. There's also an unlisted video in the description.
So,
I'll get to that in a moment.
OnlyFans
opens with an FBI
fucking logs you out once a month just to make sure it's you every time, and it scares the fuck out of me every single time. Every single time it does that, it scares the fuck out of me.
The video, as well as the Async company logo. Async, as you'll soon find out, is an
Wait, I want to see the logo.
player in the series, but also responsible for some of the structures within the backrooms itself. The video of 1989. over a year since the third test. There's also an unlisted video in the description, but we'll get to that in a moment. First Contact opens with an FBI warning about distribution of the video, as well as the Async company logo.
Gotcha.
Async, as you'll soon find out, isn't only a primary player in the series, but also responsible for some of the structures within the Backrooms itself. The video opens with text telling us that this is Test 6. As we see this industrial equipment and all of the power...
See, that's
takes
really
from this
impressive.
machine, we hear the song Daisy Bell being played in the background. Now, a lot of you have probably heard the Daisy Bell song from TikTok. It's that creepy Daisy Daisy song. And if that's where you know it from, it's okay. Everyone has to start somewhere. But the song's place in this story is due to the history of it. Daisy Bell was the first song ever sung by a computer. In 1961,
Oh,
IBM
Daisy,
was programmed with the first ever
Daisy.
full synthesizer. And to test the
That one.
hardware, the designers had it
Give
sing
me
Daisy
your
Bell, which is the
answer.
Creed version of the song that you're probably familiar with. And not only is this the first ever song sung by a computer, but in the film 2001: A Space Odyssey, which I'm a little bit of a fan of, it was the song sung by HAL, the movie's AI, as it began to die. The reason I bring it up is because the majority of the tracks that occur throughout the series are made by Kane himself. However, here, he made the conscious decision to use this song. To me, and I'll explain this with more evidence as we get further into the series, I feel that that song's usage is representative of Async's mentality, a mentality that shaped several of the decisions moving forward, beginning with the rest of First Contact. After seeing failure messages and modifications and diagrams of changes to the machine, we then see the magnetic distortion system get running. As it's running, it seems that there is destruction and collateral events happening around it. This is emphasized by a researcher telling another researcher to turn it off. However, the researcher refuses, stating that there's something there, as we see a map of the Backrooms expand across the screen. Finally, the machine ends, and what we're left with is a gateway into the Backrooms. So it seems that here, given the title First Contact, this was humanity's first expedition into the Backrooms. And from the way they speak, they didn't even know that that's what they were running into. As it seems throughout the series, it seems that the magnetic distortion system was made to open a doorway into some kind of different reality. However, as they didn't explain whenever the machine was running during this test, it seems that they accidentally came across a world that was already created. And with the final shots of the video, it didn't matter if Async was ready for this new reality or not, that they had found a gateway to it. The unlisted video in the description contains the first layer of side effects that this new discovery was brought on. And that video is Collateral Dr. Logie. This unlisted video has no description, but shows live sports coverage and news broadcast of an earthquake that hit San Francisco, California at 8:41 Eastern Standard Time on October the 17th of 1989. This is a real earthquake that took place in 1989 in Southern California. Furthermore, watching the time of the gateway being opened in First Contact confirms that these took place in the same seconds. So using this real-world event as an unfiction film within the narrative, seems that opening the gateway process created a shockwave giving way to societal devastation. So is Async going to make this sacrifice worth it? That is a good question. We'll find out. For now, let's see further effects of what this gateway caused. The next video, Missing Person. The description dates Missing Person as February the 3rd of 1990. At the beginning of the video, we see various missing person posters. These posters show individuals ranging from full-grown adults to a 2-year-old child. We then see a trend line of missing persons cases by year. The trend line seems normal until it hits a blue bar in 1989. And then after that, missing persons cases spike. If you remember the dates from the previous video, this spike occurs after the rift is open in First Contact. It seems that whenever Async punched a hole in the fabric that was becoming all reality from the Backrooms, it caused the entire border to become destabilized. And because of that, as we saw in found footage, people continue to slip in and out. Which, as a side note, there's a lot of horror throughout the series, and a lot of horror to be had with the idea that we can just take a wrong step and wind up in a yellow room. But the idea of a 2-year-old child reading it is particularly brutal. Also, and I know I keep hyping on Kane for a lot of the aspects of the series, but, I can't help myself. The music in this section, as well as the rest of the series, is fantastic. Kane composes the music himself, and there are few soundtracks that better embody this vibe of cosmic sci-fi terror than the sounds that you hear throughout the Backrooms.
most of my work is usually pretty intense or pretty dark, or yeah, I do some ambient, like more maybe emotional stuff. But definitely since having this series, it has been so cool to have a place to finally put my music and have people actually like listen to it. So that's amazing.
Anyway, we then see a doorway and an Async logo as we observe a crew taking an excursion into the back room. This is just over 4 months since first contact. We can assume that within that time, Async was performing several endeavors into the back room. By the point that we see them here in Missing Persons, they've already established an SOP, wearing hazmat suits, taking the tether lines so they don't get lost, and it seems from their reactions, this is still in their early excursions. Eventually, the group rounds a corner and sees some sort of figure underneath 3 holes in the wall. One of the researchers says to another, it may just be a part of the environment. Again, this is prevalent throughout the entire series, but especially now, Async doesn't necessarily know what they're getting into. As they get closer, the figure comes into view. It seems to be the body of a person propped up against the wall. While this may be expected, considering what we know about people just falling into the back rooms, the mysterious part is the setting around the body. It seems that some kind of mold or rock has encompassed the body itself and even worked its way up the wall behind it. It's a little hard to make out all the dialogue, but from what I can make out, it seems that the conversation goes as follows. This makes no sense. This wasn't in the last report. No, this is definitely new. It's organic. Is it some kind of fungus? Again, all of these implying that as we discover it, Async is discovering it as well. Then suddenly, the screen glitches and cuts to a very quick shot of a blue screen with backwards text. This backward text reads, if anybody, blame him. And then with that, the video ends. This is the first of several inverted messages that we're going to get throughout the series, and I have my theories about who Kim might be, what we'll get to that. For now, it seems there's some other living creature that's in the background itself. We know that Async's there, we know that people are falling into it, and we know that the life forms run hallways. But this seems to be a living world that comes out the wall around. So while we don't know the details about it yet, it seems there's more at play here than just the walls. With that, let's move to the next film, Information and Video. The description says this video is from February the 29th, 1990. Here's the thing with that. 1990 was not a leap year, meaning there was no February the 29th. Time is weird in the background, as we're going to see it gets weirder. So I'm willing to just claim ignorance at this point and get into the video. This video, again, opens with a note that is for internal use only and an logo. We now get some more information about these explorations into the backrooms, specifically something known as the Project KB31 Research and Development Team. KB31, as we'll see, is the division of Async specifically concerned with the backrooms, as well as Async's low proximity magnetic distortion systems. Specifically, this system is denoted as Model 6, with lines up with the mention in First Contact that this was the 6th trial of the system. We then learn of some nomenclature within KB31. For example, the doorway that I've been calling the gateway is referred to as the threshold, and the backrooms are referred to within KB31 as the machine, the door, the back rooms, the complex, and the hallways. Whenever talking to Kane about the series, he refers to it as the complex, and that feels less awkward than saying the back rooms all the time, so I'm sticking with complex. While discussing that mentioning the complex outside of KB31 is prohibited, there's again a glitch that shows a flash of a map.
Damn, it's fucking December.
With backwards text across a blue screen that reads, not that it would do any good. I imagine that whoever's writing this is referring to the idea that it doesn't matter if you mention it outside of KB31 or not, because people are going to fall victim to the complex either way. It seems that whoever's talking over these in backrooms has a bit of vitriol attached to them, between saying blame him and it's not going to do you any good, and other examples we'll see. We also see that it is a rule to never enter the complex without supervision and with no less than 3 people. We then cut to a tape that was taken again on February 29th. 11:36 a.m. This is the video of a researcher traveling in the complex. Before they enter the complex, the cameraman looks up and sees an advisor leaning over the balcony. I can only imagine that this is Ivan Beck, as he's mentioned as being the vice director, and the only real name of authority that we've had at this point. As the group travels through the complex, the dialogue is a little hard to make out, but you can hear them dismissing an event that happened 2 weeks ago. This would have been right after the body was found in this person, though perhaps similar events are occurring. As they're walking, the person recording suddenly hears a large crash. While some have been led to believe that this could just be a hallucination, I think the fact that the camera picked it up as well means that the noise is really there. As the cameraman follows it to a dead end, he turns back to his crew when this happens. Suddenly, while in the same physical location, the tree completely disappears. Our cameraman naturally begins to panic, and as he calms down and begins to explore, we're treated to some weird geometry. For example, he comes into this room that appears to be a sort of stadium with a fence in between him and that wall. In the middle of the floor is something that can only be described as charred remains, or clothing, or perhaps some kind of biological material that's been shed onto the ground. He continues walking, and at one point, he gets talking. There's another one of my talking moments. Don't worry, this conspiracy will come in at the end. He then comes to one of the weirdest sights in the entire series. At least at this point, there it'll get one. It initially seems to be a dark room, until he turns on his flashlight and sees this odd glow across the wall. Upon further inspection, he finds an axe propped up against it, with wheelbarrows scattered around the area.
I'd grab that axe.
Behind him are these straight lines of the sort of glitch strike pattern. And then, most bizarrely, is the image of what appears to be a bar of sorts. The angle and design of it looks like a painting, but the way his light reflects in the windows of the doors of the bar implies that it's some kind of almost 3D texture, not quite. Some people have speculated because of things like this that the entirety of the backroom takes place in video games, which, no. But the imagery here is definitely computerized. Like the rest of the complex, despite being made out of things you can comprehend, it seems violently intriguing. It also seems that while he's in here, the camera picks up a very random thing. I'll go ahead and get it out of the way. I've got a lot of theories that I think make a lot of sense, a lot of the concepts of the series, but I don't really have anything for this one. I am in full confidence that King is purposeful with everything he is doing in order and mission. So because of that, I understand that I just don't have to be together yet. That being said, what? Like, yeah, a lot of the stuff seen throughout the series can be explained as a sort of liminal space that fits in line with everything else being created by whatever intentions you made the contact in the first place. But there's, I don't know, something about the axe and the house, and it's like the whole room itself that feels different for some reason. It's going to drive me crazy until I do it. That's really all this channel is. It's me interacting with more content creators and them slowly leading me down the path of insanity until I have an inevitable mental breakdown live for you all, so stay tuned. As he continues walking, he comes across a sort of industrial wall between those walls.
Cheers,
The wall
sir.
has a sign as well as an observation window. Steps into the room, which is full of recording devices and electronics, and as soon as he says hello, alarms, red lights, and a sort of lockdown procedure begins. We're then shown several diagrams of the complex when the video ends. Now, unlike my crazy barn moaning room, there will be an answer to the finale of this video by the end of this video. Well, there will be an answer to the thing at the end of the King Pixels video at the end of this Wendigo video. Yeah, so keep making our way forward for now. Get to the next video, Autopsy Report. Awesome. Autopsy Report took place on February the 5th of 1990. This was in the past informational video only 2 days after the body was discovered in this person. And as a matter of fact, this video is the autopsy of that body that was recovered. We hear narration from a tape from somebody that works in the Department of Biomedical Sciences at ASIC. This autopsy is again to the aforementioned John Doe. The male is believed to be between 18 to 21 years old, and Warner says that the time of death was likely 5 days ago, or in other words, 3 days before his body was discovered. He mentions that the body has severe tissue damage and seems that the cause of death is malnutrition. If this is true, then our John Doe was likely in the back room before he died. However, the concerning part is the former's next mention. He says that the decomposition process is stunted within parts of the body while progressing further in other parts. He says that it seems the entire body has become infected with a mutated strain of A. bacillus. The coroner mentions that in any other case, this bacteria should be completely benign. However, here in the complex, it's mutated into something completely different, leading the coroner to directly ask Mr. Beck where the subject came from. A couple things to note here. Again, aside from the obvious, there's the weird bacteria in the back rooms, along with the giant
Hey, gotcha, Sky.
metal monster, because, you know, their day could have been any worse. It seems that Ace seems to still figuring it out, or at the very least, the people working on the ground, like the researchers and the coroner, aren't privy to what's going on. Furthermore, by looking at the body in autopsy report, whatever this mutated bacteria is incredibly violent. It seems to have come into the victim's entire body and made them into this little mold. Perhaps whatever this bacteria is very aggressive. Perhaps aggressive enough to affect the living. Maybe, I don't know, make them cough. Don't worry, that's not where it's completely getting. It's not just the fact that the bacteria is making people sick and they go full insane with the flesh. At the end of the video, we see a television within the lab flipping through different clips of TV, videos of bacteria growing, and investigations of complex. In the midst of these clips, if you pause it on a screen of text, while parts of the message are blocked off, the goal of it is very clear. Whoever wrote this said that this environment isn't safe, and that humanity shouldn't be here, and it's delusional to think otherwise. Whoever wrote this clearly thinks the complex should be messed with, and disagrees with its goal, or at least the goal of, you know, traveling into the pocket dimension. At the end of the television clips, we get this visual of the threshold being open, overlaid with a narrative testing the nuclear bomb. Literally an overlay of scientific arrogance of the past being recreated now. There's stuff like this throughout the entire series. I'm sure I missed a ton of it. And this is definitely a series that, even if you just want to hear an explanation of it, it's definitely worth your time to watch, not only because it's cool and scary and all of that, but there is a lot there for people who take the time to watch. With that, we move into our next video, Motion Detective. Motion Detective takes place on March the 5th of 1990. This is 5 days after the event of Informational Video. As the video opens, we see the date again of March the 5th, along with the instant logo. We see that just beyond the threshold into the complex, Mason is beginning construction of a sort of entry, quite possibly a hub or observation post for future expeditions. We then see that in this area known as Division A, there have been 7 motion cameras set up, where you can get a diagram of how the cameras are laid out. So we see a log of everything that activated these motion cameras on the night of Monday, March the 5th. Most of it is standard, with researchers passing by, researchers returning, a supervisor walking by, and at 9:14 p.m., we hear that the audio sensor went off whenever the threshold was closed. I like the casual nature of it, that at the end of the workday, everyone takes off their hat, clocks out, and turns off the alternate reality. At 1:06 a.m.,
And turns
another
off
noise
the
is
alternate
detected,
reality.
this time a sort of metallic clamoring. At 2:13 a.m., another noise is detected as the microphone begins to glitch. And then the real horror happens at 3:53 a.m. In this moment, we can see something leaning around one of the posts out in the distance. The camera then zooms in to reveal this. To me, it looks like these are a pair of flailing legs kicking around in the air on top of this thing. Whatever this creature is, it's most likely the same creature, or at least one of the same kinds of creature seen in found footage. And while horrifically misplaced and, again, very uncanny, the detail of human legs is the most directly human thing I've seen out of it yet. This leads back into a theory I'll get to at the end of the video, but
like it is on the roof.
as they're beginning construction, things are not good. However, despite this, the people who venture into the back rooms in later videos, as well as general conversation around the complex, doesn't seem to mention this incident. Perhaps whoever was checking the logs for this, if anyone, didn't want everyone to find out. So with that pleasant thought in mind, let's take a step back and go to the next video, Prototype. Prototype is a shorter video that takes place on May the 10th of 1982. This is the earliest video within our timeline. It says that this video takes place in the Oak Ridge Laboratory. It says that this test was supervised by Philip R. Heyman, again a real individual from the federal government transported into the story. We see here an early prototype of what would eventually become the Threshold. In 1982, the group at Oak Ridge was using this magnetic device to attempt a sort of teleportation. You see a small marble in the middle of this device, and after the machine's activated, the marble's gone. While perhaps at the time, they thought that the machine was teleporting the item or even vaporizing it, from what we know now, it was most likely getting thrown into the back rooms. So, if at least 9 years prior to whenever KB-31 began their expedition into the complex, how much stuff did the government blast into the back rooms without knowing what they were doing?
Just launch some shit in there.
Could be the cause of the effects we see now. With that out of the way, we then move into what is, in my opinion, the most terrifying episode of the series, Pitfalls. According to the description, the date of Pitfalls is May the 6th of 1990. Again, we see in the beginning an async logo, and this time we're told that the video we're watching was recorded by a Marvin E. Lay. We see Marvin suiting up along with some other co-workers within a division of KB-31 as it seems they're about to travel into the complex. However, this time, after stepping into the complex, we see that a large observation deck has been fully completed just past the threshold. These are the first signs of async beginning construction within the complex itself. While walking, we hear the crew mention the concept of vertical expansion, perhaps meaning that they are literally going to begin expanding their operations into the other layers of the complex. It's mentioned that this will take place after a tour that is happening sometime between the 7th and 10th. We also see signs that routes have been laid out, as instead of running the tether this whole way, they have placed permanent markers on the ground to let people know where to go.
I wouldn't trust those permanent markers, though.
The further they get away from the threshold, the less attention is given to make everything seem normal. This is exemplified when, as they're traveling, they come across a series of giant pits in the floor. The pits themselves seem either very deep or have a sharp cutoff just below sight. There is a door on the other side of the pits, and a researcher named Mark decides to go for it. He gets to the other side and immediately exclaims at the wonder of what he's seeing. Instead of explaining himself, he tells Marvin, our cameraman, to bring the camera immediately. As Marvin is making his way across the pit, another text glitch comes across the camera. This one, once again backwards and very brief, when deciphered, reads, while data could be inferred from these recordings, nobody knew what would actually be found on the other side. All along, the text glitches we've seen so far seem to be a sort of harbinger of things to come. It seems that this text is directly referring to the video we're watching, and perhaps the question of the other side is whatever Mark saw after he crossed over the pits, which at this point in the series, we have no idea. But it seems that perhaps someone in the future wrote something about the tape Marvin was recording, and that note appeared to him in the present as he was recording it. That may seem far-fetched now, but I assure you time's going to get really weird here in a minute.
Time's all kinds of fucking.
Which causes Marvin to jump and he falls down the pit. Luckily, the pit turned quickly and simply spit him out in a lower layer of the complex. The walls down here seem weirdly decrepit. Like, yes, it's the same walls that we're used to, but something about them seems more dingy and unfinished. There's wood on the bottom as if repairs have never been completed. It's again that idea that the further they get from the threshold, the more atypical the geometry begins to look. After it's confirmed that Marvin's okay, Mark, the guy who passed through the door up top, still says that he wants a camera right away. Whatever he saw must have been incredibly important. While down there, Marvin begins to hear what sounds like a human yelling. Marvin decides to investigate, which is a better or dumber man than me. As he turns the corner, the hallway physically twists around itself, leading to a small gap in the wall in front of him. Whenever he steps through the wall, we get the most bizarre sight that we've seen yet. It is a tunnel with a painted road that leads to a neighborhood. On top of that, there seems to be a forest around the neighborhood itself, with a blood-red sky hanging above. The streetlights and quiet houses create this apocalyptic feeling. With a lot of images within the complex simply embody a form of human absence, then this street more so embodies human extinction. As Marvin continues to walk, he can hear someone yelling, "Can anybody hear me?" His team continues to caution him not to continue further because, duh, before Marvin remarks, "But what if Miller is right about the null zones?" Now this line's very interesting to me. All the way to the second video, the first unlisted video on the channel, we saw the mention of null zones that are created by a magnetic field. Now we don't know what that means yet, and anything I come up with is just speculation. But perhaps every now and then, just from the way the magnetic fields are laid out, there are these null zones created, which are essentially just glitches where any kind of environment
Glitch in the
can change.
matrix.
Or perhaps these are locations where people can no-click through. Who knows? As Marvin continues walking, he sees a house with a light on, and it seems that whoever this person is screaming is located inside the house. Marvin walks inside and sees a series of backwards road signs popping out from the ground. Now, if you've been paying attention, you'll probably realize that this is the only other place that we've seen backwards text signs for glitches. So perhaps whatever entity is attempting to copy human structure and things like road signs, given the backward nature of the text, it could be the same entity sending messages behind. As I've mentioned with a lot of other parts of the complex, it seems that the complex itself is trying to create the idea of humanity, but it doesn't know how to put it together. It knows that there needs to be houses, it knows that there needs to be streets, things like road signs, it just doesn't know how they all fit. It's almost like an adaptive AI trying to recreate the world, and you see all of the past failed generations of that creation. Again, I'm not saying that this all takes place inside a computer, that's just the image it gives me. Marvin continues to walk back into the house through a thin hallway. As he walks through this hallway, his camera and microphone begin to glitch out. Eventually, he makes his way into a very decrepit room that has signs of someone living there. In this room, we see a single chair and makeshift bedding, as well as a pair of shoes and several letters and numbers on the ground. Kane pointed out to me that these letters are the letters that have been gathered from the houses around the street, which, while an interesting visual note, I have no idea what to make of that. Marvin makes the observation to his crew that it seems someone's been living here. He continues to follow the voices until he turns the corner and this happens. As the life form begins to scream and run at him, Marvin makes a run for it. At one point tripping and falling before getting back up and continuing to run down the street. The yelling of the life form getting louder and louder behind him. One of the more effective things about this thing to me, other than the giant monster thing, is that in this moment there are so many unknowns. Why is there a street like this in the middle of the complex? What did the person living within the bathroom do? What are these creatures? Why were they making human noises? But all of that, while still present, slips away for a moment because it suddenly becomes a fight for survival as Marvin is running from this thing. It's cosmic threats that are always there, but occasionally take a back seat to just this primal horror. As he continues to run, Marvin gets away. He makes his way back to the hole that he originally fell through, and despite hearing the life forms in the distance, his crew manages to throw down a briefcase attached to his tether, and Marvin climbs up. I should also mention during this point, Marvin begins coughing. Again, the third time, someone within the complex has begun to have coughing fit. The video ends with Marvin setting now relatively safe in the hole that he fell from, making sure that the life forms is following.
Stay one step ahead of the selling season. Go to Wix.com and
obviously there's a lot of questions, and I've already mentioned about, the person being down there, the street, the life form itself. One of the more apparent ones is the noises the life form is making. Because previously when we thought we found footage, it was kind of these garbled, broken street cats. But here it was full-blown asking for help and anyone was there. So is this life form attempting to lure people with a sort of faith? Or is it more so like a person just repeating words that it's heard? Which if it's the latter, leads to the terrifying conclusion that those may have been the last words of its last victim. But again, that's assuming this thing even has victims, or the capability to repeat patterns that it just hears from other people.
We don't know where these life forms come from. We don't know if they arise individual of each other, or if they're all the same.
We'll watch this and then we'll be done for the night. We've got about another 30
everyone
minutes.
we've seen is all the same one. So there's not a lot of information to speak to on their nature yet. They've been observed to run at the camera person screaming, and the screams are pretty terrifying.
There's so many unknowns, and I guarantee you that some of them may possibly, probably not, get better. But to see if we can get any more answers, let's jump into the next video, Report. According to the description, Report takes place on May the 6th of 1990. This is the same date as Pitfalls. There's also an unlisted video in the description that again we'll get to in a moment. We begin with outside shots of an async facility as the audio from Pitfalls is heard playing in the background. We then see, again because this was on the same day, the team from Pitfalls returning to the base. They are greeted by an advisor standing in front of them. The most striking thing about this advisor is that it's a real person. And no, not like within the story it's a real person. I mean, the video has now switched from entirely special effects into live action. At least partially so, as we'll see. We then see a series of async researchers watching Marvin's video from Pitfalls. Which also, I know I keep hopping on the Kane train, but I
Kane
can't
train.
help myself. Not only did the jump from visual effects to live action feel very natural, but Kane has already proven himself as a fantastic live action director. The way that the characters are shot and these otherwise mundane scenes are kept interesting through effective uses of camera placement and shot length. In the interview, we talked about some of his inspirations, and yeah, it certainly shows. One of the particular notes that really got me when I first watched this one, other than, it's real people now, is the attitude of the async advisors themselves. See, I kind of went into this series, and up until this point, I just had the idea of, we have stereotypical evil big bad corporation doing big bad corporation stuff. They don't care for their employees or the fate of humanity, they're just here to increase profit, blah blah blah. That was until I saw the reaction of the advisors in this video. Yeah, I saw researchers getting scared and freaking out in previous videos, but that's pretty standard for these stories, right? If you have some big evil corporation, normally their workers are the ones who are scared and gets killed, and then they just send more later. But when I was watching these async researchers watch Marvin's video from Pitfalls, they were afraid. And it's not over the top, it's not some crazy, overblown caricature of fear. It's subtle, it's quiet, but effective.
I think it's ironic to listen to the async. I don't believe is evil, and it's not my intention to portray any element of any characteristics or something I like to stay away from. I don't ever like portraying anything as good or evil in my work. I don't like to play up people who could talk. Everyone's seen the over the top corporation or agency or whatever, but it's just very strict, bureaucratic, evil, maybe they seem nice and fine, but then there's this evil secret agenda to take over the world and do something. And they can simply freaking down. It is a research institute. It is filled with people who have never touched a gun in their life. They're not prepared to go in and it's not a military organization.
Not only did Tim do a great job at directing the actors here, as well as obviously the actors themselves, but this is one of the justifications here of why the series is just live action. This isn't something that you could properly convey inside of the effects engine. But when I was watching this, when I was watching the praise, my entire opinion on the series changed. It's not just insert big bad corporation, it's something more nuanced. Perhaps Async is a company who stepped into the deep end too quickly, and perhaps they're not some monster roaming around in the dark woods, or perhaps just a child roaming around in the dark woods. We see that in response to this, Async built these massive glass doors in front of the threshold. Perhaps before they thought they were completely alone in this dimension, but now they realize they're not. And the video ends with them more afraid and perhaps more cautious of their ventures going forward. Or not, we'll see how that goes. Our next video is the unlisted video in the description of Report. And that is an unlisted video titled 9780415263573. It'd be really funny if that's like one of your all's activation codes. Now I have to explain to the CIA why I tripped off one of their sleeper agents. Which, out of all the things I was expecting the CIA to arrest me over, that wasn't in the top 9.
I'm okay, Michelle.
The series of numbers is the ISBN code, or essentially the book code, for a short story called The Yellow Wallpaper. And while yes, hee hee ha ha, yellow wallpaper, backrooms, get it, the meaning of this reference goes a little bit deeper.
I did not shoehorn it in just because, oh look, it's a book about, it's got a yellow wallpaper, guys, that means it's backrooms. There's more thought to it than that. So that's all I really can say here.
The Yellow Wallpaper is a story about a woman who begins to become obsessed with a dingy yellow wallpaper in her room. Over time, she begins to believe that there is a woman trapped behind the wallpaper itself. By the end of the story, she destroys the wallpaper in order to release the woman. However, as we see through her narration, she has instead become the woman that she was afraid of. Now, in that story, it's an allegory for mental health and people being turned away despite obvious symptoms and signs that they need help. But in this story, I feel that it's more so about becoming a monster of fear. Quite literally, a monster behind the yellow wallpaper. Now, the events of this video are not quite as nuanced as that, as we see a traffic cam video of cars on the road when suddenly one of them just falls through the floor. Obviously, as we know, that means that they fell into the back room, which is a horrific concept. Imagine that you are driving a car down a freeway and then you blink and you're now driving the same car going 70 miles an hour through the back rooms. I'm glad that we saw this first because I don't know how the team is going to incorporate it into the series. I doubt we'll do this. But if I was watching it trying to take notes and then in an upcoming episode the life form just gets dump trucked by a Honda Civic, I think I'd just shut the laptop and be done with it. With that, we move on to the final public video at the time of recording presentation. In the description, I see that this is from May the 8th of 1990. And again, there is a link to an unlisted video that we'll cover next. The video opens with an FBI warning regarding distribution, and we're then taken to a presentation room where an async video is being shown. The video is for something called A-Space Perspective Development. A-Space, as mentioned in Motion Detective, being the first section of the complex past the threshold. Over the beginning of the video, it essentially builds the point that the world is having a population and pollution problem, and async can fix it. They explain that this will be done through the low proximity magnetic distortion system. However, the actual text explaining how it works has been redacted. Async's plan, according to this video, is to open the threshold to such a degree that it can become a line of transportation. Essentially, as I'm sure several of you figured out from earlier mentions, the plan is to convert the complex into an infinite storage room. And as shown through the diagrams, a storage room with no maintenance or limit to size. These scenes become intercut with a group of people walking through Async's facilities, and we see that Async's eventual plan is to move forms of industry, storage, office spaces, consumerism, and even housing into the back rooms. Which that is the businessman's answer if I've ever heard one. Got poor people who can't find affordable housing? Throw them in a pocket dimension. Got factories that are creating too much pollution and contaminants? Throw it in the pocket dimension. McDonald's? Throw it in the pocket dimension. Now, while I jest, in a perfect situation where the back rooms were literally just space, then perhaps some of these solutions can make sense. If there is a population crisis, why not have people move to an area where space is no longer an issue? If nature is threatened by pollution, why not move the pollution to somewhere that can be affected by it? However, the issue arises because, obviously, as we know, it's more complicated than just a bunch of storage space. And, excluding the concepts of what if, the threshold quits working and there's a bunch of people just stuck in there. But at this point, literally 2 days before the events of Pitfalls took place, Async knows that the complex isn't only more complicated than they initially thought, but now they know that there's creatures in there that can potentially cause real harm, if not worse. And as we see from the following scenes, it seems that Async wants to move ahead anyway. I discussed this with Kane, and I don't know if it's necessarily evil as much as it is arrogant. It seems to me that Async and researchers at KB31 are so concerned with what can go right that they haven't taken a moment to consider what can go wrong. Again, because of Marvin's video in Pitfalls, I would call this willing ignorance, but either way, probably not a good idea. We see shots of a sort of long gray corridor. I can only imagine this is something that we're not privy to yet. And we're then shown several images of concept model homes within the complex. I do like this a lot. It's very creative given the geometry of the back rooms, that you look at these pictures and think, yeah, I could reasonably see how you could build a house in there. However, as these model homes are being shown, there is a very quick flash across the screen that's once again backwards and distorted. However, when deciphered, it is a fragment of a sentence that says, to deceive the FEDE. I can only imagine that's part of the word federal. So the sentence probably reads that the purpose of this presentation is to deceive the federal government. Because as we're going to see in a moment, and as the title of this video implies, this is all being presented to the federal government so that they can get funding to continue their research. Again, similar to the clip seen in Pitfalls, this seems to be a future
about 20 minutes left
information
in this and in our stream.
onto the video we're currently viewing. We then see clips
Grab more
of
water.
the Doe tape archive, which shows a tour being given by Async to the Department of Energy, again in order to justify further expeditions and funding. Also, if you were paying attention during Pitfalls, this is the tour that was mentioned occurring between the 7th and the 10th. As they're talking in the observation post above the threshold, alarms begin to sound, and one of the advisors asks one of the advisors conducting the meeting,
One second. Filling up my water. Watch out, doggo. My head hurts. Not really. Just a little bit. Not nearly as much as the other nights.
come over and look at this. Whenever they look at the monitor, they see this scene. This is the researcher who was lost during informational video finding his way back to the threshold. If you remember in that video, which on the timeline occurred over 2 months ago, the cameraman who was a part of that research team ended up finding this weird observation room that as soon as he stepped inside and said hello, all of these alarms went off. Well, that is happening right now as they are giving their tour to the Department of Energy. Not only will that...
Oh, so they set the alarms off?
But it shows definitively what happened in the informational video. Remember, the cameraman was led away by these voices before he looked at his team and a weird glitch happened. He was suddenly all alone. It turns out that he experienced a time skip. See, it's always been kind of a background thing. Time's working differently in the back rooms. This is our first evidence of it. Someone was standing there and within an instant was transported to 2 months in the future. And thankfully for him, he managed to find his way back to the entrance. But the reason he didn't know what was going on is because whenever he went on his expedition, the entrance wasn't there. So now, not only are the back rooms perilous because of the life forms within it, the bacterial disease thing in it, and the very structure of the complex itself, but now you can randomly be picked up and placed at another point in time. While we don't have the information yet, I imagine this will come into play with a lot of the text we've seen popping up at supposedly weird places throughout the story. But for now, it answers a couple of other minor questions. Remember how in found footage, he went into the back rooms in 1991 and it says the camera was found in 96? Well, that's because at some point during all of that, our cameraman experienced a time jump. Perhaps several of the structures he came across during found footage are in fact structures that were made by Async. The reason I think this is because every time the complex makes something, it's very odd and out of place. Like the structure's wrong or the words read backwards or what have you. Whereas some of the stuff that was discovered in found footage just seemed like an empty office space. It seemed a little too good in parts. And yes, while the construction wasn't necessarily finished,
and I'm gonna warm these up first.
Coming along okay. Perhaps the giant building with white hallways that he was walking through was a part of Async's future office or housing projects. And if that's true, and where is everyone? That's all speculation. He could have went in at 91, and the entire time he was in the back rooms was in 91, and then whenever he fell out, or the camera fell out, it was 96. And all the structures he came across was just liminal spaces.
Un momentito. Nice. The rice that I was cooking is perfect.
Is within the complex, and I'm just reading too far into it, which, wouldn't be the first time. But for now, to see another effect of this let's look at the last video in the series up to this point, and that is the unlisted video in the description of presentation, Simpsons. Simpsons is the only video in this series not posted by Kane. It was instead posted by a new account called Laura Harris, a channel with no public videos. The video begins as a standard home recording of an episode of The Simpsons called Bart Gets Hit by a Car. That is, until halfway through the clip, whenever distortions and glitches begin to happen on the screen, and we see shots of a Spanish television ad before the screen glitches back and the episode of The Simpsons continues. So what does this mean for the series, right? Well, the episode of The Simpsons, Bart Gets Hit by a Car, originally aired in 1991. That all makes sense. 91 is well within the timeline of the series. So we can assume that this episode aired during the time we know Async is doing its thing. Well, whenever the TV glitched and that Spanish commercial came on for a few seconds, that commercial is from the mid-2000s. It only lasted for a few seconds and it seems to have corrected itself, but it seems that Async's manipulation is causing not only people to fall into the back rooms, it's causing the time distortion to stretch into our reality. And it seems to just be a minor distortion. It's a television station accidentally showing something from years in the future of its broadcast back in 1991. However, I highly doubt that's the end of it. We saw that Async's research was causing collateral damage physically with things like the earthquake in 1989, and we saw from missing persons that creating a rift between the two realities caused people to slip from ours into the complex. But now it seems that temporal distortion within the complex is seeping into the real world. And if that keeps happening, then I have absolutely no idea where any of this is going. Because if Async breaks time, then they've really done it now, haven't they? But with that, we have now watched, up to this date, all of the videos in the back of the series. Which, congratulations, very proud. So now that we're on the same page, let's look at the timeline. It isn't that complicated, it still needs laid out. And then from there, we can do our final analysis, and I can finally get to my crazy conspiracy theories. Because, if I don't get to do that, then really, what's the point? So now that we've covered all of that, let's take a look at the timeline to make sure we're all on the same page, and we'll talk about my weird theory for the whole series up until this point. Also, Kane didn't ask me to do this, but just so everyone can see, I am repping the Async merch, because frankly, this goes hard, and I love it. Kane's merch store will be linked in the description as well, but for now, let's look at the timeline. So at the moment, the earliest event on the timeline is May the 10th of 1982. That's whenever Oak Ridge is making their prototype for the machine that would eventually open up the complex. These trials went on for nearly a decade, as on April the 2nd of 1988, the third test takes place, until the sixth test occurs on October the 17th of 1989 in First Contact. This is the first time that Async or anyone else had knowingly opened a gateway into the complex. That's also when the earthquakes in Southern California took place and the missing person incidents began. As we've established, opening up the complex and people beginning to fall into the back rooms set up the core of the series. So immediately after 1989, everything kind of happens at once. And one of the early excursions on February the 3rd of 1990, Async finds the body located in the back rooms. And then, as we know, 2 days later, autopsy report takes place. Later in the same month, on February the 29th, informational video
15 minutes left in our stream.
Here from the dotted line, that's when our first known time jump took place. That, of course, being of the researcher who went out here and then showed up at a later date we'll get to. So only 6 days after that, whenever Async sets up their cameras, Motion Detected takes place where we see one of the life forms kind of observing whatever Async's doing. 6 days later, on March the 11th of 1990, the archive.tar file was compiled, which makes sense since it's pretty much just images and clips of Async building. You don't really think about it while you're watching the videos, but all those events I just listed take place nearly within a month of each other. This next thing is something that I didn't mention in the rest of the video because it doesn't occur in the video, it occurs in one of Kane's community posts. And it's that on April the 18th of 1990, these bizarre paintings were found by Async somewhere in the complex. Now, is this indicative of the complex adapting and changing? Or is it a sign that Async is venturing out further and discovering more weird geometry? We don't know yet. But excluding the weird barn axe room that is still going to be the death of me, this is by far the most complex thing that we've seen out of the complex.
Yeah, and they never talk about the barn room.
Less than a month after those paintings were found, the events of Pitfalls and Report take place on May the 6th of 1990. And then, as we know, 2 days after Pitfalls, the State Department shows up to Async, and that's when presentation takes place. But as we also know, that is the same time that the guy who disappeared in informational video shows back up right here. In other words, he skipped forward in time just over 2 months. Then there's nothing else taking place in the timeline except for this one debatable thing that happens 7 months later. The Simpsons episode, Bart Gets Hit by a Car, originally aired on January the 10th of 1991. Now obviously the TV recording that we see in the unlisted video of The Simpsons doesn't necessarily have to be the first date the episode aired, but this is the earliest point it could have happened. 5 months later, archive.tar is compiled, and as a slight correction, I think I said that the archive.tar up here was compiled at that date on March the 11th. In actuality, clips from it were recorded on March the 11th, and the video was put together during June of 1991. So, while we don't have a lot of information yet as to what Async is doing in this whole bubble of time, they are together enough that they're making a cute little scrapbook of building images for some reason. And then while this next thing is a really big jump on the timeline, I think it's just because we don't know what happens through all of this yet. But the next thing that we have is that found footage, the first video in all of this, was recorded on July the 4th of 1991. We can tell because whenever the cameraman is in front of the placard board and sees the date, that's the date that we have. So he starts filming on July the 4th. However, it says the footage was recovered on September the 23rd of 1996. So this guy jumped forward a little over 2 months, and then this guy jumped forward a little over 5 years. So now we're getting into the theories, and the first one builds off of this. Whenever Async originally opened up the complex, we saw that the immediate effects of it were missing people and earthquakes. Async catches on pretty fast to the concept that people are going missing from the events of Autopsy Report. However, at least as it seems to us, they aren't privy to the whole time skip thing. So what if the complex is kind of like a sleeping bear, and Async just keeps poking it over and over, opening the portal, turning off the portal? And what if that's causing the effects of the complex to become more and more drastic? See, a time skip takes place that lasts 2 months, and then we see another one that takes place 5 years. Maybe continued interaction with the complex is making it become more unstable. Now, it's also totally possible that we've only seen 2 different time jumps. Our sample size isn't big enough to draw any real conclusions. What leads me to think this might be the case, however, is because of The Simpsons. See, that was not in the complex. That was taking place in our world. So Async has definitely messed something up enough, as seen with the earthquake, that it's affecting our world around it. So just as the earthquakes and the television recording messing up during The Simpsons, maybe increased time differences are a symptom of Async's meddling. The other theory I want to mention is what takes place during the events of found footage. So we have no idea what happened to the cameraman of found footage while he was in the back rooms, or more specifically, he have no idea when
exploded
it because he goes in
caught on fire
and comes out in 1996. So whenever he passed into the complex, is that when the jump happened, or whenever the camera fell out? Which, yeah, he didn't come out. His camera did. He ended up being not so okay. So what if he goes into the back rooms, and then 5 years happens, and that's why we see all of the industrialization that we come across. See, every time we see something that is naturally made or naturally made by the complex up until this point, it's so weird and out of place. There's backwards road signs and houses. There's paintings on random walls. But whenever the guy in found footage went through them, all of the signs were where they should be. There was natural geometry in ways that at least more so make sense to humans. And the massive gaps in the hallways could just be the fact that it's unfinished. And we know that last time we saw Async in 1990, they were planning on making these massive expansions into the back rooms. So what if what our cameraman was seeing in found footage is Async construction? And I mean, hey, we don't know what Async was doing anywhere past 1990 at this point. Even if he was still in the complex in July of 1991, that's still over a year later. They still could have started building. So if that is the case, that leads to two questions. For one, how are they able to build these massive shapes and structures inside of the complex? And two, why is it completely empty? I'll let you ponder on those while I get to my final theory. And that theory is regarding the life forms themselves. Every time we see the life forms, there are these giant amalgamations of metal that make these sprawling, broken noises. However, every time you look at them, no matter how broken or messed up they are, and I do believe it's them, not it, for reasons I'll mention in a minute, but every time we look at them, there's still a vaguely human shape about them. Even the one that peeked its head around the corner in motion detected, those still look like human limbs, even if it's like legs creeping out from behind the pillar. So let's think about the other things we know about the back rooms. We know that there's a disease of some kind, as determined in an autopsy report, that is causing the body to rot and decay in various ways. We know that it seems anyone who spends any amount of time in the back rooms is susceptible to it, as we've had 3 different people who we've seen travel through them and get coughing, 2 of which were wearing full-body hazmat suits. They just spent a little bit longer in the back rooms than the people they were with. We know that there are a lot more people coming into the back rooms than Async's aware of, as given by the messages seen on the wall in found footage and, of course, the body and autopsy report. And we know that the life forms can make human noises. So, my current theory regarding the life forms is that people, most likely the people who come in by accident as they no-clip or just fall into the complex, contract this disease that slowly erodes at their body and kills them again, as seen in an autopsy report. After that point, the disease begins to amalgamate the body and cause it to mutate, and I believe eventually turn into the life forms. Whenever I first heard the wailing of the life form as shown in found footage, the first image that came to mind was the head crab from Half-Life 2. For those that don't know Half-Life 2, there are these things called head crabs that jump on people and essentially make them into mindless zombies. However, if you read into the game's lore, the head crabs don't kill their host, they just hijack them. And inside of the body, the person is still experiencing pain and misery as they're forced to be this walking monster. And while I don't necessarily think the life forms are still living people inside of all of that, although that would be terrifying, it wouldn't explain a lot of their motions or why they attacked the guy at the end of found footage. I think that the disease is killing people, and then by either the disease itself or some other entity we're not privy to yet, their body is being transformed into the life form. And then while we don't know exactly what they do yet, it seems from Pitfalls that they can mimic human speech patterns, perhaps to draw other people in. And perhaps as these mindless creatures, or even an immune system for the complex itself, they roam about the halls chasing down anyone who enters in. There's something about the way they move, and something about the noises they make, that make me feel like there used to be a human there. And to me personally, that's been one of the most terrifying aspects of the story up until this point. Now, I could be totally wrong on that theory or any of the other theories I mentioned. It's very clear that there is more information and guidelines.
Now
and
get that other background noise going.
Series yet. So again, I say this a lot, but I'm trying to put together a puzzle.
We are
I
nearing
don't have
the
all
end of our stream.
So just pretend that these imaginary pieces may show up one day or something. But at the moment, with what we have to go on, those are my current ideas. And after looking over the entire story, the timeline, and my theories of it, I just have to say, I love this stuff. The Backrooms are some of the best.
Yeah, I'm excited that I know more about it now. I'm gonna keep an eye on shit releasing. I love this kind of stuff. Alright, friends, I'm gonna go lay down. I don't feel good. Or I feel better than I did last night, but it's still not all the way better. My neck be hurting again. I'll catch y'all later. Same time, later.